Hi, dancers. Welcome back to the Whole Dancer YouTube channel. This is an exciting, I'll call it a return because it's been a minute since I've been consistent on YouTube because I'm here collaborating with the amazing Kathryn Morgan.
Hey, hi everybody. Hi, Jess.
Thank you so much for coming on today to talk about something that I think is so important. And as much as more and more resources are coming, to be for dancers and aspiring dancers, I feel like there's honestly never enough.
hmm
And especially around auditions.
Yeah,
There's more happening, but it's a void for sure. There's so much misinformation or like confusion or just like so many unknowns. It's a lot for dancers to deal with.
absolutely. Not only is it stressful, but like it's a stressful thing just doing them, but then also because of the whole like emotional aspect and am I going to get it? Am I going to not? What if I don't? So yeah, auditions are not fun.
Yeah, it's such a thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through 5 mistakes that dancers might make in preparation for auditions.
Mhm.
And Kathryn has obviously some amazing insights on video. So she's got some big, video things that you have to pay attention to. And so we'll go through them. And I hope that this will provide you all with just some extra things to think about. Not to stress you out more, but to give you things to focus on besides the stress.
Yes. To
That's
put your
my goal.
mind at ease.
Exactly. So, my first mistake that I'm going to share with you is limiting yourself. I always, whenever I have a dancer client who, even if I'm not doing audition coaching with them, if I'm just doing general health, nutrition, lifestyle stuff, and they're going through auditions, I always am like, well, how many companies are you planning to audition for? And I feel like the most common numbers are like 15. And there are, in the US, I wish I had the exact number, but there's over 60 companies if you look big, small, medium, all around. And it is so often they cut companies out of their possibilities because they heard like one thing from one person about like what kind of dancers that director likes.
Right.
And I always share this one specific story with my friend who was leaving Louisville and she was, like looking where else she should be auditioning. And there was a company that one of our college peers was at. And this dancer who was already at the company was like 5'8", very, adagio, kind of fluid, beautiful. Giselle is like what you would think of when you think of her.
Yeah.
My friend who was thinking of going there is like barely 5 feet tall, punchy, energy. Like that's her thing, right? And so she was so on the fence about even going and doing it. And we were like, you have to go and do it. Just whatever. You don't know what's going to happen. So she went. And not only did she get a job, but she ended up being promoted to principal within a few years. Like she
Amazing.
moved like skyrocket in that company. That is so often the idea that dancers have in their heads is like, I know this person who's there and I'm nothing like them. So how could I fit in at the same company?
Absolutely. And it's so funny too because I think I see this with summer intensives. So you want to go somewhere, which is great. You need to have your dream, you need to have your goal. But if you're only going to audition for ABT, what happens if you don't get in? Like, what if they're out of spots? There's always some other factor. But with companies especially, you want to do as many as you can to have the options. Because once you're in a ballet company, it's much easier to transition to another one if you're already in the door. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just get in the door, because companies are far more likely to invite you to audition if, they're already a core member with such and such ballet than a random non-professional that they don't know. So do as many as you can to simply get in the door. Like I use my husband as an example all the time. Chris did like something like 20 auditions, got one offer, which was Ballet West, ended up going and thinking, all right, well, I'll just start here, and then ended up loving it for 17 years. And became a first soloist. And so you never know what path is going to be, but you got to get in the door.
I was literally this week saying to a dancer who's at like, she's like at a top pre-professional school. And when she first sent me her list, it was a lot of bigger companies, which I understood. But I said to her, like, we got to add at least 20 more. Yep. And look at some different sized ones. Because I said you might get straight into a core contract at one of these smaller companies versus a bigger company where even if they think you're amazing, it's much more likely they're going to have you start second company or trainee or whatever their rank is there,
exactly. And you know, you never know what the situation is. Big companies are wonderful and they're good to dream about, but there are so many dancers who did not get into a big company, went to a smaller one, and are so happy, who would have been miserable at a bigger company. So you kind of can't pigeonhole yourself. You've got to leave your options open.
And that segues well into our first video mistake, because the fact that you have the option to make video auditions really does open up the possibility to literally send your stuff to 60 companies if you so choose.
Well, and that is the thing. Like, if you're going to bother filming and you're making a video audition, send it to 80 million places. You only have to film it once. But my big one for video auditions, number one thing is you must follow directions to the letter. I see so many people, it'll say, it's a 5 to 10 minute video. Oh, well, I'll send 20 minutes. No. Oh, we only want bar on one side, or we want this, we want that. No, I'm going to send everything. You've got to follow it to the letter. It shows you can be a good listener. You can follow directions. It shows you'll be a good employee. So if you've sent a video to a company that is not what they've asked for, they're already going to be frustrated with you. And you have a much better chance, even if you think your video should be longer, don't. Because quite honestly, they're not going to watch it all anyway. They never do. Let's be real. But you've got to follow it to the letter. Do it, do it, do it. Even if it's frustrating, even if you have to edit 14 different videos out of your footage for 14 different companies, follow it to the letter.
Yeah, a lot of them will say to me, like, well, they said this. Is it okay if I do this? I'm like, we should probably be doing what they asked for.
They're very specific.
There might be a very specific reason why they want it exactly that way.
Yeah.
You know,
that company might, if they ask for bar and center on flat, maybe it's because they do a lot of flat contemporary ballets. Like, you never know. There's always a reason behind it. There always is a reason of what they're looking for. So you've got to follow it to the letter so you show you can be a good employee.
I like the ones who say to put the variation up front, because my theory is that then some of them just like only watch that.
So absolutely.
Great variation.
And I will say they 100% look at the variation and center more than they do a bar. Because a lot of people look beautiful at bar and fall apart in the center. Center is important, the variation is important. Now, if they have not specified to include a variation, don't include one. Yeah. If they want to see a variation, they'll ask for it.
Yeah, it may just mean cutting, splicing, editing when you're in the studio, filming a number of things that the specific companies want, but you should follow direction. My next mistake is underfueling in the weeks and months leading up to auditions, because and again, I always am like reminded of these things right during these months, because I have clients who will say to me, oh, I was thinking about trying this, or oh, some of my friends have been really changing the way that they're approaching food recently. And it's so tempting. It's just like in our brains, well, maybe if my body was a little bit different, I would be more appealing. And, the thing is, when you do that, a number of things, of course, when you do that, you are opening yourself up to injury at a much higher rate.
Yeah.
And to get injured now when you're sending out videos and then hopefully getting invited to take class or what have you, it's just really bad timing.
You don't ever want to start a job or a summer intensive injured. That is worse. That is far, far worse.
Yeah. And then the other thing that can happen is if you change your body drastically right now by underfueling and in unhealthy ways and unbalanced ways, the odds of being able to maintain that, I mean, you won't be able to do it healthfully, right? But even if you were to maintain it, it's just not likely that you were. If you're doing this unhealthfully, you're not going to be able to maintain any changes that you make. And then you're going to show up looking different than you did in the audition.
Right. You need to look like in your video, in your photos. I know a lot of people have to take audition photos. You've got to look like you. You can't suddenly be drastically different than what they saw, one way or the other. And so it's super important. If they've invited you to take company class and you show up injured, I guarantee you, just in the way the ballet world works, in that person's mind, they're automatically going to go, oh, this person's going to be a problem. I don't want them. And it's terrible because the injury is not your fault. You know what I mean? It's an accident. Nobody plans to be injured. but it automatically puts a bad taste in their mouth about you, and it's terrible, but it's true.
And sometimes it's not even like a conscious thing. Like it's just like they have this, you know, sudden feeling, and they wouldn't even be able to pinpoint it for you. But I'll add to that, it's also a time with so many people doing Nutcracker where you can very easily fall into the trap of, oh, I just like didn't bring enough food today, because you don't plan ahead with your fuel plan. And you have to plan your fuel for busy performance season. You have to plan your fuel for audition season.
That's what's hard about audition season. It comes right after Nutcracker, which is the hardest performance season there is. Like it's like
like a cosmic joke.
How many parts did you do? How many costume changes? Now go audition. Yeah. So take care of yourself through Nutcracker for auditions. Video mistake number 2. Don't cut and splice too much. I see so many people halfway through a pirouette combination suddenly have a cut and it's a different take. You've got to, that shows the auditioner they're automatically going to either roll their eyes or it's a red flag or something. Each combination needs to be one take. You can't cut mid pirouette into, ooh, this take was better, but I like that. No, you've got to do from start to finish, not the whole class, but each combination is one take, not multiple, because that is very suspicious.
That is very suspicious, and that didn't even occur to me. But I believe you. I believe you that probably there's a good amount of that going on out there.
I'll say I have done it on YouTube. Usually I'll try, if I film a variation, I'll try and do it in one take. But you can see in a couple of the variations I've done where there's a slight little difference, and I'm like, oh, that's take 2, and it's fine because it's my YouTube channel. I'm not auditioning for anything. I don't care. But you cannot do that for an audition, especially for a variation. It needs to be from start to finish one take. It shows them your stamina. It shows them how you are in real time. Again, this goes back to looking like you.
I think that's important to point out because people might just be like, well, but this one part.
Doesn't matter. You need to be, it's realistic. Real life. Hashtag real life.
Hashtag real life, 100%. And I think that's where too, you can't make your video process the biggest rush job around, which is about, part of it is the Nutcracker challenge, that dancers are thinking about it now, but they're also rehearsing a ton and going to be in the theater, some of them soon. Yeah. And, it's a challenging time to get it done without it being a rush job.
Having done ballet classes on YouTube for 8 years, it's always going to take longer than you think. I have gotten now, when I film a bar, just a bar, and I have now, down to a science, got my process, it takes me an hour and a half to just do a bar. To get the angle right, to get the lighting right, to get the music, to get this and that, and I've been doing this for 8 years. So if you're gonna film for an audition, give yourself at least 3 hours. At least.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't say this to my clients years ago, but more and more I've said to them, also have a second and potentially third day planned. Don't put all your eggs in this one basket of this one day, because it's already a pressure filled situation. And then to add the pressure of and you've got to get it done in these 3 hours. That's it.
Super smart. Have a second day. Bonus tip. Have more time.
And then my last one is something that I think there's never enough attention paid to, but the mistake is when you put zero attention on your mindset going into audition season. When you just are okay, I'm just, you try to downplay it in your mind, or you're I'm just going to take in class, it's fine. Or you just don't put yourself in the mindset of what is this different scenario going to feel like? How can I show up most fully, mentally, obviously, and physically? Thinking about it in terms of what are dancers might define it as, your flaws. I don't like to look at it that way. You would say, what are my areas of opportunity? That's what I would think.
Things I need to, I can improve on.
Yeah. And so that you think about it ahead of time and you don't get there and then suddenly you're like, oh my God, I can't turn. And then it's just not going to go anywhere. And a lot of, turning is a lot of times a mindset issue.
1000%. I talk about it in class all the time. It's like when you do a beautiful pirouette in the back of the room and no one sees it.
Right.
And then you can't do it in the combination. It's all up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to think about what's the feeling going to be for you when you're in this room surrounded by different dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And I always talk about like stretching intimidation, where you walk into a room and like people are really like, oh my gosh, look at that girl stretch. You just like assume, yeah, you're like, she's going to be so good. She's so much better than me. I can tell already. It's like, no one's even dancing yet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember that being that kid at a Houston Ballet audition. There was this one kid who was like whacking her leg and this and that. And I remember being like, oh, she's so good. And you're right, she didn't dance a step yet.
You know, you have to think through those things. And I'll give a bonus tip on this one as well. One way to figure out what your mindset challenges might be is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations now and pretend they're auditions, which could be just like going to open class somewhere else, taking a private with some teacher in your town who you know of, but you find intimidating, you know, like doing things that are taking you out of your comfort zone that most of us are in by the time we're, you know, getting ready to audition. We've usually been training somewhere for a while. We feel very comfortable there. You have to take yourself out of it so you can identify, oh, okay, these are the thoughts that are going to pop up in my mind when I'm not comfortable.
Pretend every class is an audition. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great little tip. It's like rehearsal. Guess what? It's rehearsal.
So what's coming up next?
We are collaborating. I'll let Jess talk more about it too, but I am coming out with a video audition course where I give you every secret in the book that I have for auditions, for setup, for filming, for editing, for like everything. All my secrets are in this one course.
Yes, we're collaborating because I've been doing audition coaching for a number of years, like specific audition coaching. And even when I wasn't offering specific audition coaching, like I said, any dancer I'm working with who's going through auditions, we obviously end up talking about it during coaching sessions. So you can get Kathryn's video course along with audition coaching, which I just know can set you up for so much success going into auditions, because it is going to take you through like making sure you're incredibly prepared in each of these areas that we talk through in this video, and a number of other ways that I will talk about at an upcoming free audition success workshop later this month. But it's really, I always say that when we think about auditions, a lot of times dancers will say like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so expensive. I'm going to be running around the whole country. It's like this huge endeavor. It feels so big. And the goal of having a great video that you'll be able to create with Kathryn's audition course and being prepared from a planning perspective, from a nutrition perspective, from a mindset perspective, the goal is that you will not be running around the country because you'll have much more targeted stuff that you're sending out. So you'll get a much better response from that first round of sending out your audition materials.
Yep.
And you'll have guidance in terms of strategy for where to go, like where to actually put your focus based on you and your ability and goals and all of that.
Yeah, and in the course, I give you combinations to use. You get like specific audition combination. You don't have to think about it. We go through a sample video audition and we go through the whole thing. We film it, we edit it, like it literally like would be me auditioning for something. And I take you through the whole process and hopefully it'll make it really painless for you.
Yeah. Imagine that. That's what I like to say is, you know, like we would talk about, we both said stress quite a number of times during this conversation. And the reality is it doesn't have to be a huge stress on you for many, many months as you go through the process and then are waiting for the results, right? It can actually be just an exploration. You can like be just thinking about possibilities instead of thinking like, oh God, what if I get nothing? That's what I hear so much.
Yeah, and all of you,
what if I get
I know. And anybody that works with Jess will have access to the course for free. So, because I will be selling it separately, but you're going to get the course for free.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. And so coming up to, like I said, the free Audition Success Workshop later this month, I will have some additional exclusive video tips from Katie's course that I'm going to pull out and share with you all during that as well. So you'll get a taste of like what additional information you'll get. You'll get an idea of, what audition coaching entails and how these two pieces, the auditions coaching and the video course, how they work together so beautifully.
It's investing in yourself. It's investing in your best chance of success. And you don't have to do it alone. You don't.
It's always, dance is such an investment, the training, the shoes, the dance wear. And then sometimes we don't invest in the things that would make a monumental difference in the actual outcome. Yeah. And I think that this is one of those things. Amazing.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love what you do. I think what you do is amazing. So,
thank you.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Yes.
Bye.